All right. In order to properly understand what we're going to be discussing today, I'm going to need to put on my detective's hat first. Because there's a mystery afoot, ladies and gentlemen. Detective's hat. Okay. Do not laugh. Chopper is one of the foremost greatest detectives of our age. He's better than L. He has solved some of the most infamous cold cases that have ever been cold cased. All right? He knows it all. All right? Actually, I would watch a gritty detective show starring Chopper, okay? Like a CSI kind of situation, right? Let me set the stage for you, okay? Cold opening of this detective show. There's like bodies everywhere. Like there's this old house where there was like some Jason Voorhees kind of crap going on, and there's like 17 bodies strewn about, body parts all over the place, blood everywhere. The cops are in there, and they're just like, oh, God, this guy's a monster. It's like, there's only one guy. Well, actually, there's no guy that can actually solve this. We need to bring in a reindeer. And then it just cuts to a happy, sunny, like amusement park, and Chopper's walking around with cotton candy, having a great day. And then he gets the call. And then it's like, I'm on my way. And then he turns into a reindeer and gallops toward the crime scene. I would watch that. I would watch that twice every week. Absolutely. Okay, so what's the mystery we're solving today? Oh, okay, the mystery. The mystery we're solving is who murdered Dr. Vegapunk? Yeah, that mystery's already been solved. Okay, yeah, I know. I got it, Barry. Okay, look, all right, here's the deal. We all know that Saturn killed Vegapunk. Although, maybe not, because I was reading some comments that were like, it was actually Kizaru that killed him. I'm like, all right, if you're going to be particular about this, if you're going to be down to the minutia of everything, okay? Kizaru definitely did not help. Because he stabbed Vegapunk, you know, through it was like the side with his light sword. But he just cauterized the wound, guys. It's all good. He just cauterized the wound. No, he stabbed Vegapunk. He was bleeding pretty bad. Could he have been saved after that? Yeah, I feel like he could have. I feel like if they were able to get Vegapunk back up to the lab, and Chopper was up there, and they also have all the artificial organs in the lab or something, like, at worst, Vegapunk might have gotten one of his kidneys destroyed by that attack. You know, like, this is One Piece, you know, pop a new organ into him, have Chopper fix him up, have him drink some milk, maybe some whole milk, because he needs some extra healing. He'll be right as rain by tomorrow morning, okay? But then, of course, you have Saturn, who turned into a giant spider and then stabbed him, and that apparently ended him for good. But the reason why I bring this up is because while we might know who really killed Dr. Vegapunk, the world at large does not have that luxury, okay? So when Vegapunk is giving his message, one of the things that he says before he gets to the whole world is going to sink beneath the ocean kind of thing, he says, look, the reason you're seeing this right now, this message broadcasted all over the world via Den Mushi, is because I am most likely dead. I set this broadcast to air when I die, so I am recording this like a few days or weeks prior to all that happening, okay? Now, the Vegapunk in the message does not know the events of Egghead, like the Egghead arc going on, okay? Now, he had a few suspicions that he was gonna die because the government kept sending Cypher Pole agents to the island, right? Like Cypher Pole 5 and then 7, I think, and then went to, you know, Cypher Pole 8, I think, and then Cypher Pole 0, finally. And it's just like, yeah, okay. He was smart enough to realize, and Shaka even said this to Dragon when he did the phone call at the beginning of the arc, like, yeah, I'm probably gonna die soon. So Vegapunk prepared for this, and he's like, I'm going to do this kill switch message, okay? In the message, he says specifically, I, do not hate the person that kills Vegapunk, that kills me, you know what I mean? Because it's like, I don't know who they are, I don't think of things in the context of good or evil or any of that jazz, I don't know nearly enough about the person, so don't think of them in that context, don't think of the person that killed me as like evil or something like that. Now, this is a very interesting dynamic, because when I first read the chapter, you see the scenes of Saturn as Vegapunk is relaying that message. As the message is playing, you see Saturn climbing up the Labo phase, attacking Robin and all the Straw Hats up there, like, as the message is, like, I don't know nearly enough about the person that killed me. They're probably not evil. Spider! It's just like, okay. So a lot of people brought up that it was like, Vegapunk was probably not referring to Saturn there. He was probably referring to Luffy, knowing that the government was going to frame Luffy, and so the whole world at large, the paper is going to say, like, because it already said, Straw Hats take Vegapunk hostage. That's already in the paper. Duval even mentioned it in the last chapter. So the next headline that is probably going to be, Morgan's is probably going to print something up, like a special late midday edition or whatever, that's going to say, Straw Hat Luffy murders Dr. Vegapunk. That's probably going to be the headline, right? So Vegapunk is trying to get ahead of all that, and he's saying that in this message, hey, don't necessarily hate the person that killed me. I don't know nearly enough about them, blah, blah, blah. Now, there's a couple of issues with this, because like I said, this message takes place before Egghead even starts, before the Straw Hats have even arrived there. Like, while this message is being recorded, most likely the Straw Hats are still in Wano, okay, while all this is happening, while this message is being recorded. Now, look, if you want to say Vegapunk is so smart and he's so prophetic that he knows that, like, the Straw Hat pirate crew are going to be arriving at Egghead next, yes. Also, the government is probably going to arrive here, and they're going to kill me, and they're probably going to frame it on Straw Hat Luffy. I better make a message to prevent this. Because that's a lot of, look, Vegapunk is a brilliant guy, and if you want to say all of that, I could see it. If anybody else in the One Piece world, like, I don't really see it, that's kind of a reach. Vegapunk, I get it, but still, that's a lot of what-ifs. That's a lot of contingencies he's layering out there. Most notably, because when you leave Wano, you gotta pick one of three paths, you know what I mean? Unless Vegapunk prepared that message, like, right before the arc began, which is also possible, I guess, but the implication was it was several days or weeks before the Straw Hats arrived is when he recorded that thing, okay? So, when you leave Wano, you gotta pick one of three paths, and so maybe Vegapunk necessarily wasn't thinking of Luffy, like, specifically, like, they're gonna frame Straw Hat Luffy, but maybe he was thinking, like, yeah, the government's going to arrive here at some point and kill me. Like, he already kind of arrived at that conclusion. The government is also not going to, take credit for that. Like, they're not gonna own up to, like, today, Cypher Pole Zero assassinated Dr. Vegapunk. They're not gonna do that because Vegapunk is a very well-loved person all over the world. That's not gonna make the government look good. So they're gonna need a fall guy. They're gonna need a scapegoat, as it were, right? They're gonna need somebody to take the fall for this. So Vegapunk is probably maybe not expecting Luffy, but, like, somebody is going to have to take the fall for my death, and the government is going to try to make it seem like they are objectively evil. How dare these horrible pirates kill our beloved Dr. Vegapunk? We as the world government knew nothing about this. It's such a travesty, So perhaps Vegapunk was like, anybody that arrived to my island. Like it could have been Law. Law could have showed up to Egghead, and the government would have probably tried to pin the death of Vegapunk on Law, or Kid, or anybody that showed up there. So Vegapunk's just like, hey, basically, like, don't trust the news, is basically what Vegapunk is saying, right? Also, he might have been referring to, like, Kizaru, because, it's like, oh, they might send somebody to the island to kill me. Who's that going to be? Oh, they could, if they really wanted to be sadistic, they could send Kizaru, because Kizaru is, like, a close friend of Vegapunk and Sentomaru and Bonnie and Kuma and everybody like that. So if Kizaru gets sent to the island and has to kill me, then, like, everyone might hate Kizaru, and so Vegapunk's trying to also, like, hey, don't do that, I mean, he's not an evil guy, right? Oh, by the way, really quick, I wanted to address this because I was making the thumbnail for this, and I had a moment where I was like, okay. So in the thumbnail, I did the whole good, neutral, evil thing because I thought it just looked cool, right? You have Luffy representing good. I mean, yeah, Luffy's probably, like, killed people before and stuff like that, but overall, especially when you look at the idea that Luffy going into Gear 5th is he's Nika, and he's the idea of the sun, and he's hope, and he's the dreams, and he's just, like, protects everybody all over the world, and everybody prays to him. That's a good character. Luffy's good, all right? Luffy doesn't go around, like, murdering people just because he gets jollies off of it, all right? Sure. Saturn being evil, yeah, like, right here, right now in the story, giant yokai spider monster. Blah, yeah, that's kind of pretty closest to evil as we can get. I just made a video about that not too long ago between, like, Lucci and Saturn in the ways that Oda is depicting the levels of, like, evil, whereas, you know, Lucci is still like a human being with like flesh and blood and cares about some people like Kaku. Saturn might not even have any of that, all right? Maybe at some point Saturn was a flesh and blood human and had morals and stuff, but right now, as we are in the story, Saturn is pretty damn evil, right? But then you have Kizaru, and I was like, ooh, I'll put Kizaru as neutral, because up until Egghead, he kind of exhibited that sort of behavior. He exhibited the behavior of like, I'm a neutral party, I kind of just do what I want. He's very unpredictable in that regard. He might kill you, he might just let you go away. It depends on what kind of mood he's in right there, okay? When we get to Egghead, though, he very much adopts the idea of like, whatever orders I'm given from up above, so by the Gorosei or, you know, the Tenryubito or whatever, I am going to carry out to the letter, even if that means killing a friend. So I don't really know if you would go neutral in that, because neutrality in that context with like the alignment chart is more about like your own, like getting your own personal intentions involved and stuff like that, you know, like I would say Mihawk is a neutral character because he just kind of does whatever he wants. Like that's more neutrality. What would you call a character that's like, yeah, I do kind of mostly what I want, but at the end of the day, I follow orders, and when an order is given from high above, I have to carry it out, even if it means killing a friend. But then after he stabs Vegapunk, didn't kill Vegapunk necessarily, but he did stab him, gets knocked away by Luffy, lands in a battleship. He's like, Kizaru, we're gonna heal you. And Kizaru's like, just leave me alone. I'm done for the day. So Kizaru at this point, I think, is just taking an out. I mean, he did get banged up pretty bad by Luffy. I'm not saying he didn't, but, you know, could they patch him back up and he could get back into the fight? Yeah, probably. But he's opting to like, no, I'm done. I'm done for the day. I'm not doing this anymore. I stabbed my friend. I'm over. So I don't know if you want to say Kizaru is neutrality necessarily, but, you know, whatever. Okay. This is a very interesting way that Oda's layering this, okay? If you look at all the different ways, like especially the way the message is relayed in the chapter over the panels, okay? So you have this one panel of Vegapunk in the past relaying the message, you know, like the person, you know, they're not good nor evil, and that's layering over Saturn, okay? So you could look at that in the context of like, is like Oda implying that like, oh, the Gorosei weren't always like this, they weren't always these evil monsters, okay? Or you could look at it in the sense of like kind of dramatic irony, where Vegapunk is relaying this stuff like, oh, the person that killed me probably was not evil, and then you see the evil monster that's a spider and be like, oh no, they totally are, you know, because Vegapunk is very much, Vegapunk is kind of neutral in this context, where the way that we've seen Vegapunk speak about this kind of stuff in the arc, like of like whether or not he believes in gods or devils, or whether or not he believes in good or evil, it really doesn't seem like he takes a camp on either of that stuff. He's just here to advance science. That's what his job is. That's what he sees his job is, and that's what he loves to do, okay? So he's just going to keep improving science. You know, like the idea here is like he basically made a robot army. He made an army of Terminators, but he didn't really, I mean, yeah, I guess more if anything, he thought the idea of the Terminator army, because he called them the Pacifista after pacifists, hoping to improve the world, but maybe a little naive in the sense of like, you're making an army of death Terminators, dude. Like, do you really think like that's a good thing? Like a net good added to the world, or a net bad thing added to the world? You know, it's an army of Terminators that are pretty damn tough, that can fire lasers and blow up buildings and ships with ease, okay? You might have called them the Pacifistas, you might have modeled them after Kuma, but there's a little bit of naivete there, okay? So You could look at it from that perspective there. And he's like, maybe Vegapunk, if you asked him directly, like, do you believe in objective good and objective evil? I feel like Vegapunk would say no. I feel like he just wouldn't say that. He was just like, nah, I don't believe in that. I don't even really worry about that kind of stuff, right? It does not matter to me, Quasar, right? It's like, okay, fine. But yeah, when you get to the Gorosei, as of right now in the story, and Eam, the closest thing to objective evil we have, okay? Like, easily done, like, considering their actions. And I feel like a good chunk of it for the Gorosei is also just the tremendous amount of time they have lived. So much time going by has basically shaved and whittled down any sense of ethics or morality that they had. Okay, like, that's all gone at that point. It is shaved down to just a stump of who they really were, like, maybe before they were turned or became immortals or something like that. Like, they are the fingers of Eam and, like, nothing else, okay? Like, that is what they are right now, right? Do they care about one another? Like, if one of them died, would they give a shit? Honestly, right now, I'm getting the impression they probably wouldn't. I'm getting Germa vibes from them in that regard, you know, like if Marcus were to die in the next chapter or something, like die for good, like gone forever, I feel like the other Gorosei wouldn't really mourn his death. I feel like they would just view it as like, Marcus has fallen. Ah, I see. Well, that changes the plan then. Like, that's basically how they would do it, and maybe Eam could just recruit a new one kind of situation, right? So how is the world going to respond to this? Because even if Vegapunk says, hey, don't trust the paper, you know, Luffy wasn't really evil, even if that's just the way that they interpret it. Like, oh, Straw Hat Luffy, Vegapunk died, which is bad, and Luffy did it, so we should hate him, but Vegapunk said not to hate him. Yeah, but what if Vegapunk was being controlled, man, by the man? What if that even wasn't Vegapunk? What if Vegapunk, like, made, like, maybe the government made a fake Vegapunk, and that was the guy delivering the message? I'm gonna post about this. It's just, you know, well, okay, there's gonna be maybe some weird conspiracy theories out there, right? Regardless of what Vegapunk says, there's going to be people out there in the world that are going to be very devoted to Vegapunk, whether it be because he's a genuinely good person, or it's just Vegapunk makes them really cool shit. I made a joke in the last chapter review that there's one guy that's really upset that Vegapunk's dead because he ordered a new blender from Egghead. He's like, I'm not going to get that now. You know, but, like, genuinely speaking, if there's a man that runs this island that is super technologically advanced and is creating all this sort of crazy tech that's improving your life, think about how anachronistic the One Piece world is. You know, they have electricity, but sailing pirate ships, but they also have refrigerators, but they also have, like, TV screens and monitors and you know, like that kind of stuff, you know, like CRT televisions or something close to that, right? They have that kind of technology, right? Like we saw in Impel Down, they kind of had, like, computer monitors down there, right? That's all because of Vegapunk, okay? So if Vegapunk were to die, that's going to slow technology down considerably, and people are going to be pissed about that. People are going to be pissed, like, wait a minute, we're never going to get our new model of fridge? You know, I was waiting for one that had an ice maker in it. Damn it! Screw Straw Hat Luffy for taking out Vegapunk. I don't even care if he said not to hate him. He's objectively evil for delaying my Amazon order. Grah! You know, maybe something like that. But also, there's people that might genuinely have loved Vegapunk. Like Kaya in the last chapter was talking about how Vegapunk has made such strides in the medical field. She wants to be a doctor, so she probably looks up to, you know, Vegapunk in some way. Now, Kaya personally knows Usopp and Luffy and the Straw Hats and everybody, so Kaya's probably like, okay, there's something else going on here. Like, most of the people that have met the Straw Hats know there's something up here. They know that Straw Hat Luffy did not kill Vegapunk in cold blood. That just doesn't make any sense, right? But for the most of the world at large, they might have the attitude of, Vegapunk is dead, and the World Economic Journal is saying Straw Hat Luffy did it. Like, I want to believe Vegapunk and all that stuff, but this is a big loss. This is a very hefty loss. Unless Morgans decides to just go ahead with it, and like, he finds out, like, the Gorosei are there and everything, which I feel like he might, because if he's in the range of the Black Den Den Mushi to intercept certain calls and things, so I feel like Morgans should at least know the Gorosei are there. Morgans could do something insane if he wanted to, and just print the story that, like, Gorosei kill Vegapunk. Let me ask you a question. What is a more bombastic headline for a newspaper? Is it Straw Hat Luffy, a Yonko, kills Dr. Vegapunk? I mean, that's a pretty good one. That'll definitely sell out. That's really good. But Luffy is a pirate. Pirates attacking the government and the Marines, that's kind of what they do. But the Gorosei, the leaders of the world, all arriving at Egghead, by the way, they're monsters. Oh, if Morgans could get a photo. If Morgans or somebody on that ship could get a photo of the Gorosei in their monster forms, dude, that would not only sell out, you'd have to make a reprint, and then that would sell out, and then another one, and then that would sell out. Like, Gorosei are actually yokai monsters, and yeah, the world's ruled by demons, apparently, and also they killed Vegapunk themselves. Dude, bonus points if Morgans can get the photo of Saturn, like, stabbing Vegapunk through the... I don't even know how people would even respond to that. Probably as much as they would respond to the world sinking into the ocean. They'd be like, seriously? Is this actually a thing that's happening? Is the world really sinking? Are the Gorosei really demons? What's going on here? You know, like, people probably wouldn't know how to process it, honestly, but it would sell, especially since Morgans in the last chapter was like, Vegapunk, are you trying to kill print media? like Morgans might be like, you know what? No, we're not doing this. Okay, Gorosei killed Vegapunk. I'll show him. Print media still got some life left. Just like, just print it like crazy, right? Or Morgans can start the podcast, one of the two, right? Okay, so it's an interesting dynamic that we have now, like public opinion of the Straw Hats and the civilians. I don't really know how much of a role the civilians of the One Piece world are going to play here, like overall, like in the final saga. Certainly I feel more with the revolutionaries than with the Yonko or the pirates or anything like that. Like, if anything, I could see this message if Morgans does print the message, like, Gorosei kill Vegapunk, world's run by demons. It'd be like, oh, okay, I'm definitely joining the Revolutionary Army now. Dragon kind of had a point. Now, I wasn't really sure about this Dragon guy, you know, revolution. Seems a little bit extreme if you ask me. But the world is now ruled by yokai monsters, so I can kind of see where he was coming from. Sign me up, Meredith. We're joining the revolutionaries. I'm already packing my RPG, pa. Let's go. Just like, all right. Like, yeah, just some old couple in the South are just like, time to join the revolution. It's like, all right. Yep. So, I don't know. I feel like this is going to bolster Dragon's numbers, and that's going to help overall in the final endgame here. So, yeah, the people of the world, though, finding out about what's going on is going to be very cathartic. And by the way, Vegapunk's message isn't over yet. I mean, he said the world's going to sink. That's the most pressing thing. But, you know, I would assume if Vegapunk knows he's going to die and he sets this message up as a kill switch for that occasion, just go crazy with it, Vegapunk. Yeah, I mean, the world's going to sink into the ocean. You should probably lead with that because that's a global event. But, you know, if you also know at some point there, by the way, there's a shadow ruler that sits on the empty throne. His name is Eam. By the way, the Gorosei are yokai monsters. By the way, the government is insanely corrupt. By the way, the Marines are insanely corrupt. By the way, like Vegapunk is just rattling all this off and everyone's like, I don't even, what do I do with this? Right? That's why we need a detective like Choppa. All right. Anyway, that's the video. Thanks for watching, everybody. This will be Teching 101 signing out. Look, there's me. Look, infinity shot. There we go. Yes. End screen.